Bobby Wagner has been released by the Los Angeles Rams in a cap-cutting move. So, could the San Francisco 49ers look to sign him? Because in the past, he has said, I would love to play with Fred Warner. And for Bobby Wagner, still, even though he's 32 years old, one of the better linebackers in the NFL. And with San Francisco potentially losing Azeez Al-Shaair in free agency, could he be a cheap option to help the Niners chase a Super Bowl? Before we get started, during our watch parties, we had all these Super Chat giveaways, and so many people were so kind with their donations and helping us build the channel. And we really do appreciate all of the love. But YouTube, outside of live videos, does have a super thanks function where you can still donate to the show. All you have to do is hit this heart icon with the $ through it, and you can send in a donation of any amount. And if you do send in a super thanks on this video, we will give you a shout out on Monday's show. We appreciate all of the support that you give us here on the 49ers Report, a big reason why we're closing in on 80,000 subscribers. All right, back to the Bobby Wagner conversation here. So Wagner was released by the Los Angeles Rams on Thursday, somewhat of a surprising move. Last year, it was a feel-good story. He gets let go by the Seattle Seahawks. He grew up in the Los Angeles area, so he was able to stay home. And in his lone season with the Rams, he played really well, but the Rams as a team were not good last year, as many of us know. And once again, Kyle Shanahan continues to be Sean McVay's daddy. But why we're talking about Bobby Wagner on today's show is because Azeez Al-Shaair could get paid in free agency. So could the Niners get Wagner on the cheap to replace Azeez Al-Shaair, who I think is in line to maybe get $6, $8, $10 million in free agency and maybe follow his former defensive coordinator in DeMeco Ryans and go to the Houston Texans? Wagner has said before that he would love to play Fred Warner. And over this generation of NFL football, there have been a couple of marquee defenders who really highlight this era of football across the league. And at that linebacker spot, two of the best to do it in this generation, and really, in my opinion, of all time, it's Fred Warner and it's Bobby Wagner. So if they were by any chance to link up on the Niners and play with one another, obviously it's a short-term play because Wagner is 32 years old. It would be absolutely fascinating. And for Wagner, he was good in 2022. Given his age, he didn't really show that many signs of decline. 140 tackles, 6 sacks, 10 tackles for loss, and 0 forced fumbles. And as a coverage linebacker, you might look at some of these numbers and say, I don't know, Bobby Wagner, when he was targeted, still gave up about 69% of the balls that went his way in terms of the completion percentage, but only 359 yards all year in 17 games played. Only 2 touchdowns for a defense that really struggled at moments throughout this year, and 2 interceptions to go along with 5 pass breakups. And despite being 32 years old, according to Pro Football Focus, Bobby Wagner was the highest graded linebacker in the National Football League during the 2022 campaign. Guess who was number 2? You guessed it, the All-Pro Fred Warner. Now, if the Niners go out there and they sign Bobby Wagner once the new league starts on March 15th, tampering window, by the way, starts March 13th. That's when we'll start hearing about these deals. We'll let you know. We're closing in on 80,000 subscribers. We're a little more than 1,300 people away, so make sure you subscribe today and lock us in. As for Wagner's accolades, one of the best to ever do it at that position. A 6-time first-team All-Pro, a 3-time second-team All-Pro. So that's 9 times he's been an NFL All-Pro. Nutty. 8-time Pro Bowler, and he's led the NFL in tackles 2 times, won that lone Super Bowl with the Seattle Seahawks a few years ago, and was named to the 2010s All-Decades team. Of note, for this roster move for the Rams, it does not become official until the new league year starts. Some players who are getting let go, for instance, Rand Carthen basically ran rampant across that roster. He released 4 players on one day. Some of them are available to sign with the team. The same can be said for Derek Carr, but because of the contractual details here for Bobby Wagner, the move of him being let go, not official until the league year starts on March 15th. But the Rams, in the meantime, could look to trade Bobby Wagner. But they really have no trade leverage. Like, they went out there and they released Bobby Wagner. They're not going to bring him back and try to trade for him. And no teams are going to give up all that much for him, considering the price tag. But also, they know that the Rams want to let him go so that they can save about $12 million on their books. If the 49ers needed to trade for Bobby Wagner, which because of the price tag is not going to happen, these are the financial details here. He would have a cap hit of nearly $13 million in 2023. If he were to get cut prior to June 1, the Rams would save $5.25 million. After that, they would save $8.25, so it goes up $3 million just in the span of a few hours. Pre-June 1 trade savings, the Rams would save $8.75 million, and the new team would owe, if they traded for Wagner, $11 million. If you slash that price in half and you sign him for $5-6 million in free agency, that's when I would become somewhat interested if I am the Niners. So what does the faithful think? As always, you can sound off. It's an open-minded conversation down in the comments section. You can share your thoughts. Should the Niners sign Bobby Wagner? S for sign, P for pass. Let us know what you think down in the comment section, because I always go back to see what you all comment, because I'm interested to see what you all come up with. Coming up next on the show, some interesting buzz out of the Dallas Cowboys organization that one of the best left tackles over the last 8 years or so, and Tyron Smith, could be cut by the Cowboys, and another money-saving move, and Michael Brockers has been released by the Detroit Lions. First, though, today's 49ers Report is sponsored by Cultivate. If you want to save some money and you want to have a safer and better Amazon shopping experience, that's where Cultivate comes into play. It's a free browser extension that brings transparency to your Amazon shopping experience. Cultivate shows you the brand, seller, or product origin and identifies local alternatives that support local community efforts while saving you money. With over 50% of Amazon US sellers based in China, Cultivate offers a way to avoid trickery from these sellers and keep money in the US economy. Cultivate offers alternatives that are on average 30% less expensive than Amazon without any additional costs, such as Amazon Prime. It can even identify local alternatives that you can pick up the same day. Cultivate users earn free donations as rewards for using the extension, and the more you use it, the more you earn in donations by increasing your level. In fact, Cultivate donates 51% of the revenue they make on your purchase. So what are you waiting for? Head to wecultivate.us/chatsports and download Cultivate for free. Let Cultivate bring transparency, savings, and community support to your Amazon shopping journey. Support the show. Download our link. It's down in the comment section and in the description of this video. From the linebacker position to defensive line and defensive tackle, area of need for the Niners here during this offseason period. And Michael Brockers, pretty good defensive tackle for a long time, who's been in the league for more than a decade, 11 years to be precise, was let go by the Detroit Lions today. That move for their organization frees up about $10 million. We're talking about an 11-year All-Pro here who played 6 games in 2022, so a little bit banged up. But prior to last year, in the previous 10 seasons, he had missed a combined 7 games. At this point, maybe you don't want him as a starter at defensive tackle for the Niners, but as a rotational piece along that defensive line for a guy who's well accomplished and can still play, I'd at least explore it and make a phone call. His career stats, a lot of experience from 2012 to 2022, first-round pick back in the day out of LSU, 160 games played, 29 sacks. He's not really a pass-rushing defensive tackle, more of a stuffer on the interior. 64 quarterback hits to go along with 52 tackles for loss. And if you go back and watch the film against the Philadelphia Eagles, the 49ers at defensive tackle, they got bullied. They got pushed around. They struggled to maintain their leverage. So Michael Brockers, if he is signed by the Niners as a potential target, could come in and help alleviate some of those concerns. Your level of interest in Brockers is what? Good player for a really long time for a couple of teams. Scale it for me from 1 to 100. 1, don't want him at all. 100, love him. Once again, what say you? Interesting stuff coming out of the Cowboys organization, as we alluded to earlier. According to reports from The Athletic, Tyron Smith, one of the best left tackles in the game for a really long time, may have played his last snap as a Cowboy. If he is cut, Dallas would save $10 million. Here's the problem with Tyron Smith. Like Taylor Lewan, both of them play left tackle. Both of them have been off injured over the last few years. Tyron Smith 17 of 50 games played over the last 3 years, but here's that report from The Athletic. The 8-time Pro Bowler might have played his last snap in Dallas. If he returns, the Cowboys could put him back at left tackle and play Tyron Smith at left guard, which was the plan going into the 2022 season. But Tyron Smith's inability to stay healthy led to Tyler Smith showing he's the long-term player at left tackle. So once again, if he wants to revive and extend his career and maybe chase a Super Bowl and go to a squad that does not choke in the NFL playoffs, maybe the 49ers are that team, right? He's had a hell of a career. 2-time first-team All-Pro, 2-time second-team All-Pro. He's made it to the Pro Bowl 8 times, and he, like Bobby Wagner, a member of the 2010s All-Decades team. It's pretty wild. I graduated high school back in 2010, so that makes me feel a little bit old. But for the Niners, we're talking about Bobby Wagner and Tyron Smith here. Can you imagine bringing them both in, both members of the 2010s All-Decade team? But here's a concern about Smith. Like Lewan, he's a left tackle. And Taylor Lewan, by the way, basically said on his podcast when he was asked, you're going to have all 31 other teams outside of the Titans hitting you up. He said, check that. 30 teams, because the 49ers already have their left tackle. And on a podcast earlier this week, he basically said, I cannot play right tackle at all. So you can cross off and X off Taylor Lewan. Tyron Smith, he need to be let go, obviously, for him to sign with the Niners. If you're still rocking with us, I want you to show us by giving us a real one roll call down in the comment section. As always, appreciate your support. Don't forget to subscribe.